Hello, friends. Welcome to our balancing project today. We are talking about the force of gravity, and while gravity may bring you down, this project will definitely bring you right back up again. I want to highlight for you guys where you can find out more information about gravity and the force that we call gravity. That is located in an old lesson plan that you may want to read for some of your projects if you're struggling with like remembering some of the science content or making it digestible for your students and the age group that you're working with. So over here on my shared screen, I have another folder that's the one that you guys don't often visit called Project Information. If you click there, then you will find some old lesson plans that are about the force of gravity and the 4 rules of gravity. So in here, you can go through this information, this content. Today, we're talking about a balancing project. In order to understand balance, you first have to understand gravity. The first rule of gravity is that all things with mass have gravity. So if it has weight, gravity is pulling down on it. A feather, a bowling ball, all things with mass, any amount of mass have gravity. The second rule of gravity is that it pulls or attracts. Gravity doesn't push us away, it pulls us down toward the ground. The third rule of gravity is that the more mass or the bigger an object is in size, the more gravitational pull it has on it. Now, we're not talking about tiny objects like an apple. We're talking about massive objects like planets. So the larger a planet is, the greater the gravitational force and pull it has, is what we're talking about here. And then the fourth rule of gravity is that the farther away from an object you get, the lesser the gravitational pull that you're going to feel from that object is. So the fourth rule of gravity is that the farther away you get from an object, its gravity pulls you much less. So this is why if you're thinking about a rocket ship on Earth, everybody's like sitting in their seat, they're not feeling those forces of gravity. They take that rocket ship away from the Earth through the atmosphere and they go out into outer space. And maybe let's say they land on the moon. And if they land on the moon, they're going to moonwalk. They're going to feel the less pull of gravity on their bodies. Same mass on our body, but we get to hop when we're on the moon, right? Now, let's say we jump back in that rocket ship and we go even further out in outer space, away from all of these objects, away from the planets, the moon. When we are just out in outer space and that rocket ship is kind of in orbit, what happens to those astronauts inside of the rocket ship? They're basically just floating. There is no gravitational pull that's acting on them because they are so far away from those large objects. So if you want a greater understanding of the 4 rules of gravity to be able to break those down for your students and to go through them in class, please take a trip on over to the other folder that you don't often use for your projects. Instead of going to teacher prep, go to project information and check out one of those old lesson plans. If we had a lesson plan in the past for a project and it aligns with the concepts, I've thrown it into this folder for you. So this applies to other projects too. One other thing that I want to highlight real quick about this project is that we have had to pack 2 different balancing projects for you to use in classes. Most of our schools are doing the Enchanted Forest, so that's the project I'll be building with you today. A couple of our other schools have done the balancing toy that's this little cork guy. The only difference is that you wrap the metal through the cork, twist it around a little bit, add the mass or the weights onto the bottom of it, use the table surface that you have to press the cork onto the sharp end of some of your nails that are with it, and then you balance the nail on the dowel rod that you're given. There's another nail that comes off the top of it, and you can also balance your little cork friend on your finger, on your nose, wherever you would like, on your elbow. Do some obstacle races even in class to see who can balance their project and move around. Have some fun with it. So if you have the cork project, your project instructions for that are in here as well. But again, I'm going to go back through the Enchanted Forest. Let's take a look at our science note real quick. This is a science note that applies to both projects. We are making a balancing toy today. The whole reason why our project balances is because of the force of gravity. I love a song by the Weepies. They did a spot on PBS Kids. It's called Gravity Always Brings Me Down. Thank you, the Weepies, for creating this song. Gravity, a force that you can't see, but you see what it does. That's why apples fall from trees and why the rain falls from above. Sometimes I wish I could jump up to the moon, but gravity keeps me here in my room. Gravity always brings me down. Whoa, gravity always brings me down. It's a great song. You can learn the lyrics to it and you can sing it in class to talk about this pulling force, this attracting force of gravity. Now, weight and mass are 2 different words. Go through your science note to understand the difference between them. Weight is actually the measure of mass that an object has. So the measure of the pull of gravity on a mass. Now, we have some little facts and figures here. If you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you would weigh only 17 pounds on the moon. That's how much less gravity is pulling on you. You can talk about how you don't feel the pull of gravity when you're in a pool and you're floating. Relate to the kids and the knowledge that they already have and the things they already know about balance, center of gravity, and that force called gravity before we throw lots of new information at them. We want to connect to what they already have in their mind. Now, the balancing point is something that you guys can practice trying to find in your own bodies in the classroom, sticking your arms out, sticking your arms up, raising your center of gravity, making it really hard for you to balance on one foot, or taking more of a linebacker stance and standing on one foot and lowering your center of gravity from that ballerina pose. High center of gravity, not easy to balance, down to a linebacker stance, low center of gravity, much easier to balance. So get those kids out of their seat for a second, get them moving, and that is how you are going to have a wonderful time with the lesson plan part of your project today. Now, moving on over to our actual project build. You are going to want to make sure you have masking tape available with this wet weather that we're having right now. It may continue in a couple weeks. The wood that we use is not preserved. It's natural wood, so it swells and it shrinks based on the weather. So your dowel rod may not fit into this hole today in your project. If it doesn't fit, if it's too loose, take a piece of masking tape, stick it to the end, fold it over, and then press that down in the hole, and then you will have a good snug fit on your project parts and pieces. So that's why you want that additional masking tape. So here's your stand built. Make sure you're using your markers, color all over this wood, color all over the stand, make it look like an enchanting forest, which this project is called, so that you have a backdrop for your fairy and your dragon to go chasing each other in today in your class. Now, going through the cutouts for the fairy and the dragon, you cut the rectangular section out first. I've done most of the cutting of that. Once you are done with the rectangular section, then you are going to fold these in half. That's a little bit of a tricky part, so it may take some time for your kiddos to be able to fold these well, but you do want to make sure they're matched up, because if they're not, then you're going to cut through part of your fairy or your dragon once those are folded. So fold them on this dotted line. Don't cut along the dotted line. Fold them on the dotted line. And then on one side, there's this outline here, and that's what you're going to cut around. So hold these two things together. Take your scissors while they're folded and cut along that solid black line until you get the smaller shape of your little dragon here. Gravity always brings me down. Whoa, gravity always brings me down. You drop a book, you drop a ball, you drop your shoes and they will fall. Something pulls them down, you see, and that force is called gravity. Gravity always brings me down. Whoa, gravity always brings me down. If you learn the song, then you have a chance to sing it when you're doing things like this in class. When your kids are focusing, you can walk around and you can be relating these science concepts to the project that you are teaching today. So keep that in your back pocket. Now I have these all cut out. I'm going to attach my sticky squares to them. Everybody thinks that sticky squares are tricky, but there is a trick to them. You have an easy side. The side that both of them are connected to is the easy side. Leave that for last. Take the easy side, peel it up, stick your sticky square to your thumbnail. It doesn't need to be a long thumbnail. Just stick it to the thumbnail. Fold it back like you're dog-earing the edge of a book and push toward the corner, and you will have a folded piece of paper that sticks up off of this. And now the kids have a chance to have this handed back to them. And once you hand it back to them, they have these little pieces of paper right here that they can grab onto and peel these off. And it makes everything way easier for you. Unfold this, stick the sticky square down, peel the easy side off. Don't close your papers yet. Peel the other side off, stick this on your dragon like that. Before you go sticking this to your project, make sure you put your mass onto each side of your wire. I'm doing this up in the air, but this is something that you should do flat on a table surface. I'm going to take my dragon now, and I'm going to stick my dragon onto my sticky square. Now, I did mine perpendicular. I like the way that looks a little bit more to the wire. You can do it parallel. I just like the perpendicular look. Looks more like they're chasing each other when the project is completed and done. So again, take my little fairy. I'm going from the outside edge here. stick my fairy and my sticky square onto my piece of wire, fold my paper over, squeeze, 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 make sure there's a good connection. Drop these masks down to your images. You may need to adjust this wire a little bit to get everything to kind of bend out to your liking. Now that this is done, take it and set it on top of your post. And now you've got a balancing dragon and fairy. You can give it a whirl and watch them chase each other, fly after each other. You can balance this on your nose. You can balance it on your elbow, on the back of your hand, and you can have your kiddos also do some fun obstacle courses in class with this project. Again, remember, don't forget to decorate the base. Color, color, color on this project. Have fun with it. Let the kids make this their own. It doesn't need to be a dragon and fairy. Have them flip these pictures inside out, draw their own images if they would like. They could put the picture actually above their weight, kink the end of the piece of wire and let this weight drop down to the bottom of it and put the picture wherever they want. If they want to change it up, they sure can do that. The project still needs to function, but they can decorate it in whatever way they would like. You guys have fun with this project in class today. Again, let me know if you have any questions about which project you're doing in class. It will be in your bin, so you can take a look ahead of time and figure out if you have these dragon and fairy cutouts or if you have those corks to figure out which set of project instructions to use. Have fun in class. Enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions.